All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD1100 C# programming class, online class, for the spring 2024 semester, I've been doing a series of video presentations based on the PowerPoint slides for the textbook. I am up to Chapter 5, and I've been kind of bouncing back and forth between going through these and going through some actual programs. Chapter 5 is on how to do control structures. And you'll notice in here that we, amongst other things, we go over Boolean expressions, if statements, switch statements, while loops, do while loops, and for loops. All right, and really that's pretty much everything that is in this chapter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back into, I was going to go through and try to see if I could copy. It's not worth it. It's a pain in the behind. So I'm going to bring back up this payroll thing that we had before. All right. And I'm going to, in fact, this is what I'm going to do. Now that I think about it, let's grab the original and we'll make a copy. Okay. So I'm going to call this Payroll Original. Payroll Original. All right. And it says I can't because it's already open. So let's close it. All right, now I should be able to. So again, Payroll Original. Okay, and this will be our copy. I'm just going to call this one Payroll. All right, so let's open this one up. All right, now previously what I did, we're going to go through both of these. All right, we had, let me close this, and let me reset our startup project to our console project, and let's open this. Now, this will be a simple C# payroll application. We will be adding to this application as the textbook goes on. Well, it's going on. For this first iteration, we will simply ask the user for their first name, last name, hours worked, and hourly rate. We'll use string variables for the names, numeric variables for the hours and rate. We'll also use constants, which we did nothing with. So we're going to fix that right now. We've got these global constants right here, which said the minimum hours somebody can work per week is 0 and the maximum is 84. We said that the minimum rate that somebody can make is 0 and the maximum rate they can make is 99.99. Again, these are all arbitrary values I came up with on my own. We've got 5 global variables, a first name, a last name, which are both strings, hours, which represents hours worked, which is a decimal, rate, which represents a decimal for their hourly rate, which is a decimal, and gross. And gross is going to be their hours times their rate. So we input their first name, we input their last name. Those aren't going to change, but it's going to start to change right here. We're going to make sure that what they put in, if they don't put anything in, again, we're going to just knock them out. But if they do put something in, they have to put in a value that is between, we have to put in a value that is between for the hours worked 0 and 84, for the hourly rate between 0 and 99.99. All right, plus when we do the calculate gross pay, we're going to add a couple more variables in here. What do I mean? Const decimal max non-OT. That's the most hours you can work without getting any overtime, and that'll be 40.00 M. And we're going to have a const decimal OT rate, the overtime rate, which will be equal to 1.5 M. So time and a half. All right, so we've got those. All right, a bunch of them. They're all gray because they're not being used. We're going to start using them now. All right. Now, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. I want to always do this, and I want to always do this, etc. But we're saying here, let's see, we'll check for nothing entered for their name, okay? And if there's nothing entered for their name, we're not going to go on. So let's do this. Let's make a Boolean variable. And we're going to call it keep going. Okay? And I'm going to set it equal to true because I want to keep going. So while keep going, let's make that a capital G here in there. All right, so let's see. So we're going to want to do all this stuff in here. All right, so I'm going to come in here and start doing it like this. All right, so while keep going, so we want to keep doing this. So I'm going to come in here and say keep going equal, and I'm going to set it equal to that input first name. What does that mean? That means that input first name now must return true or false. All right, so right now it's not returning anything. So we're going to change that to a Boolean. And you'll notice once we do that, that error went away. But we got a new error because we're not returning anything right now. All right, so we're telling you to enter your first name. And what we're going to do here is we're going to make a Boolean variable that we're going to call retval for return value. And we're going to set it equal to true. All right, and we're going to say here, we're going to tell the user to enter their first name, okay? And then we'll make a check and we'll say if first name equal nothing, then they didn't enter anything. Okay, so what are we going to do? We'll just print a message. So I'm going to say here, did we do here? Yep, we did our system.console. So we're going to say right here, if they put in nothing, we're going to do a write line. And it'll say, you must enter a first name. Okay? Now, there's different ways that we can handle this. What do I mean? Well, notice I made that in there as an if. So we could do that. But now that I'm thinking about it, we can just check in every one of these routines and keep them in there until they do put in something we want them to put in. So let's get rid of this keep going. All right. And we're going to do it like this. It's going to look a little strange, but I'm going to say while 1 equal 1. All right. And again, we're going to call input first name. We're going to turn that back into a void. All right. And we're telling you right here, this, we don't need the retval, we don't need a doggone thing in here. We're telling you to enter your first name, okay? So while the first name is equal to nothing, we're going to tell you to do it all over again. In fact, why don't we do this? We'll use a different kind of loop. We'll put in here a do, like that, and we'll do that while the first name is equal to nothing. Okay, now that's all we got to do. So play computer here. We're saying do, it always goes through and does this at least once. So enter your first name. Okay, it enters it. If it's nothing, if you leave it blank, this will be true, so you'll go back and you'll do it again. And as soon as you put something in there that isn't blank, it's going to get out of here. And let's do this. Let's say first name dot trim. What that'll do is that'll get rid of any leading zeros and any trailing zeros. I shouldn't say zeros. Any leading blanks or trailing blanks that we put in. Let's do the same thing here. But now we're going to say enter your last name. And last name is equal to this. And do this while last name dot trim is equal to nothing. So we've now handled the first name and we've handled the last name. All right. We still need to work on these two. Now, it's not enough to just do this. All right. But we can put a little bit of a twist on that. So let's come in here and make another do. And we will tell them again to do their hours worked. All right. So enter as hours worked. And we'll even let them know that it should be 0 to 84. Okay. And then we'll put it in. Now, we want to do this while. Now, this will be a little bit more advanced of a test. So do it while. Well, what do we have to check for? We want to do this while hours dot trim is equal to nothing, which means they put nothing in there. All right. Or, so if, with the or in here, okay, well, let's see. What happens? Let's back up for a second. Let's just forget about this. We'll put that in if we need it. All right. So we're telling him right there to take this hours figure and convert it to a decimal. All right. If you remember, we've got another thing in here called try parse. So I'm going to create another variable in here that's going to be a Boolean variable. It's going to be called result, and I'm not going to give it an initial value. But I'm going to say here where it says write this. Okay. So enter your hours worked and put it in there. Fine. Boom. So now I'm going to say result equal. Let's see. Decimal dot try parse hours. All right, now let's see. Doesn't appear that it likes this, and that's okay. We'll figure it out. We're going to make another variable here. All right, and we're going to make a string variable, and we'll just call it HRS for hours, okay? And right here where we're doing this, we're going to say HRS equals convert to decimal. All right, read line. We don't even have to do this. Let's just say it equals to read line. All right, now result is going to be equal to, now we're going to try to take what we put into hours, HRS, and if it works, we're going to put it into hours. Just like that. So what doesn't it like now? Well, we'll find out. Argument 2 must be passed with an out keyword. So there we go. So one of two things is going to happen here. All right. Either we're going to come in here and we're going to put something non-numeric, which means that'll be false, or we're going to put a number in here. which means that'll be true, and it puts it into hours. All right. So we wanted to keep doing this while so while, not result. In other words, while result is false, or hours is less than min hours, or hours is greater than max hours. Now let's look at this in English. You're coming in here and you're telling the user to enter a value here that's between 0 and 84. And then they're putting it in. So let's say they put in hello. Then you're going to try to take hello and put it into a number which isn't going to work. So this will be false. So in other words, that'll be true down there, and it'll tell you to do it again. Let's say that you do put in a number, but you put in 100 for hours. All right. So you come in here, you put in 100. It converts it, and this is true, but is 100 less than a minimum? No. Is 100 greater than the maximum? Yes. So it'll come up and ask you to do it again. We're just about done with this, believe it or not. Because we're going to do this again, but we're going to call this rate. How about we'll just call it HR for hourly rate. All right, and this will be HR. So this will be enter your hourly rate. All right, and that's 0 to 99.99. All right, we're telling them to do it again with HR, and we're going to put the result now in a rate. So rate. All right, so now we have everything covered. But is that how you figure out gross pay? The answer is yes and no. The answer is yes, that's how you figure out the gross pay if they don't have any overtime coming. So if the number of hours that they worked is less than or equal to max non-OT, all right, that means they worked 40 or less hours. Then that is going to be the gross. Otherwise, they've got overtime coming. So the gross is equal to what? Well, it is equal to this right here, but that's their straight time. So we'll say here, hours times rate, okay? That's their straight time, plus the number of hours they worked, minus max non-OT, times the rate times the overtime rate. All right, we'll be able to figure this out and run it and see whether or not it works in just a moment. All right, there's no errors here, and that's always a terrific sign as we start. All right, now when we've got this and it comes back in here, it asks for a new name, etc. All right, why don't we set it up so each time it asks somebody to do something, we clear the screen. All right, so I'm going to put here clear, and I'm going to put that before I ask every question. Okay, now let's see if it works. File, save all. We can go back and take a look at everything in just a moment. Okay, so enter your first name. I left it blank. Tells you again to enter your first name. I'm going to put just some spaces in there. Tells you again to just enter your first name. I'll put my first name in. Now enter your last name. Do the same thing. Spaces? Nope. Blank? Nope. All right. Enter the hours worked. Let's leave it blank. Doesn't take it. Let's put hello. Doesn't take it. Let's put in a number that's negative, that's out of range. Doesn't take it. Let's put in a number that's more than 84. Doesn't take it. All right, so we'll put in 40. Enter your hourly rate. Let's again put in a negative number. Doesn't take it. A number greater than 99.99. Doesn't take it. Let's put 25 in here. Okay, that all worked. Great. All right. Now it's asking us to do it again. Let's try overtime. So let's say that Barbara Jones worked 50 hours and makes $10 an hour. All right. Now, doesn't look right to me because it should be 550. She's getting $150 of overtime. That's 10 times, no, that would be right. No, it's not right. It's 40 times 10. Okay, I already know what the error is, but we'll fix it right now. All right. Where we're figuring out the gross, it's not hours times rate here. It's max non-OT times rate. Okay, now when we do this and we run the same program, the same numbers, we should get 550, which is actually the correct answer. Barbara Jones, 50 and 10. And that is correct. All right, now let's do a little bit like what we did earlier. What do I mean? Well, when we did that other program, we did a count of how many employees we had. We did a count of the total payroll, and we did a count of the average. Okay, so let's add those. And I'm going to come up here and add those up here. All right, so I'm going to put static int total employees, total EMPs, and set that equal to 0, because there are 0 employees when we start. All right, static. No, static. Come on, Jeff. Static. Come on, Jeff. STATIC. Static decimal. Total. Let's call it total payroll. So we'll call this total EMPs. All right, let's move these over a little. So that total payroll will be equal to 0M. And then we'll also have, so we've got our gross. I'm going to have an average gross. Static decimal AVG gross that I'll set equal to 0.0M. Let's move this over. And again, that'll be 0.0M. All right. Now, every time we get a new employee and we have figured out their gross pay, which is right here. So in here, we know that we've got an employee. So I'm going to say tot EMPs plus tot payroll plus equal gross average payroll is equal to total payroll divided by total employees. Now it doesn't like something in here. Let's look. It says it does not exist. I thought I'd call it not. It's not average payroll. It's average gross. Okay. And as long as we're printing out all this other stuff, Let's print this out too. So again, not there, but down here, after we print out all this, let's do another right line. We'll move it down a little bit. All right. And I'm going to say total employees. And we'll put in here plus total imps, tot imps. We don't need to do any formatting on it. We'll do another right line. Where we'll say total payroll and we will make that toString and also with currency. And now we're going to do one more right line where we're going to say average payroll, average gross. And we're again going to say plus avg gross.toString. All right, let's see what this looks like now. File, again, no errors, which is always a great sign. Save all. And I'm going to run it a few times to just put good data in. All right, John Smith worked 10 hours, makes $10 an hour. All right, well, I got to move that down, but that's okay. So one employee, $100. That makes sense. Let's do another one. Bonnie Kramer, 40 hours, $25 an hour. Two employees, $1,100, $550. This all looks like it's working. All right, let's do one more. Kent Bryant, 60 hours, $30 an hour. I'm going to take for granted that all those are correct. All I want to do is get rid of these blank lines in here. All right. So I want to get rid of just like that. All right, we're going to put in, I'm going to put in everybody who's in my family. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to put in values that make sense. So Jeff Scott, $40 an hour, $25 an hour. I'm the one employee. I made 1,000, so that would be the average. Makes sense. My wife, Sandy Scott, let's say she works 50 hours and makes $25 an hour, so she has some overtime coming. $1,375 plus my 1,000, $2,375 divided by 2, and there's 2 employees. All right, Taylor, I'll just put Scott here. And Taylor will say worked 30 hours and makes $40 an hour. All right, so we've got that. My middle daughter will say she works 70 hours and makes $29 an hour. All right, and finally, my last daughter okay, we've got 5 employees. The total payroll, as you can see, was $87.90, so almost $9,000. So the average gross is $1,758. Looks like everything, as far as I can tell, is working fine. All right. And there's, again, a lot of ways we could pretty this up, fix this up, etc. I'm going to leave it the way it is. So what do we have in here? We're now using all of our constants. And also, we added 2 more constants. All right. So to keep this simple, all constants and variables will be global. We will also use constants for hours and rate. In addition, we will validate that the hours worked is numeric and between 0, which was 0, which was our min hours, and 84, which was our max hours, and that the hourly rate is numeric and between 0, good gravy, between 0, which is our min rate, and 99.99, which is our max rate. Also, if the user worked more than 40 hours in the week, she or he is entitled to overtime at time and 1/2, which is what we called the OT rate for each hour worked greater than 40. Okay, that's pretty good, I think, for coming in there and writing some, writing some stuff, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab this in addition. Okay, all that, copy that to the clipboard, do a file, save all. Now let's look at the program quickly. Our constants, the minimum hours you can work are 0, the maximum is 84. The minimum amount you can make is 0, the maximum is 99.99. The minimum number of hours you can work without getting any overtime is 40. The overtime rate is 1.5, which is time and a half. Our program variables, so these are program constants. These are program variables, or what the book called class variables. Since we created them outside of any routine, method, function, whatever you want to call it, they can be used anywhere in the program without having to be passed around. All right, first name, last name, hours, rate, and gross. These we had previously. We added total number of employees, total payroll, and the average gross pay for a person. All right, then we changed this while 1 = 1, which basically means, keep running the program. Now, there's a lot of things we could do here. For instance, if I wanted to, I could put another check in here that asked if they wanted to run the program again, rather than just running it again and again and again and again. And then we could have printed out the average just at the end, as opposed to what we're doing now. So there's a lot of ways the program could be changed. All right, this is an infinite while loop. 1 is always equal to 1. So we'll input the first name, input the last name, input the hours worked, input the hourly rate, calculate their gross pay, which also figures out the totals, and then we're printing out all of the information. So we change this to be a do while loop, which means we always go through it once. We clear the screen first. All right. And then we say, enter your first name. If it's empty, we're going to make you clear the screen and do it again. We're going to have you keep doing that until you put something in there that's not empty and it's not just hitting the space bar. Then we do the same thing for the last name. So by the time we get down and we get down from here to here, we've entered something for a first name. By the time we get done with this routine and go to here, we've entered a first name and a last name. Now what we're doing is we're telling you to enter your hours. There's three things that can happen here. You can put in something blank or non-numeric, which is going to result in bad stuff. You can put in a number for hours worked that's less than 0 or greater than 84, in other words, out of range, or you can put a number in within range. If you either put in something non-numeric or you put in something out of range, we're going to make you do it again. Likewise with the hourly rate, same kind of thing. All right. Then we calculate the gross pay, but unlike what we did before, now it's not just straight gross equals hours times rate. If you work less than or equal to 40 hours, it is. Otherwise, it's your regular straight pay plus the number of hours that you worked over 40 times 1 times your rate times 1.5. Plus, we come in here and we add to all of our counters and accumulators. Total number of employees, etc., total payroll, and the average gross. And then we print everything out. All right. Hopefully that made at least a little bit of sense. So let's do a file save all here. And I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this. I'm going to come over to our payroll GUI and open that up. All right, and just like we did with the earlier example, I'm going to go and widen this out. What do I mean? I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to grab these three things. I am going to copy them to the clipboard and then paste them right back in here. They're going to go here, so I got to widen this out a little bit more than it is. That looks good. Let's move this over just a little bit. There we go. And now that I look at it, this looks like it should be moved up a little. So should that. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Up a little, and that looks pretty good. All right, and let's move these over so they're sort of centered, all right, in the program, sort of at least. That doesn't look too bad. All right, let's lock our controls. This is all fine. Everything that's there is good. But we want this to change. This will be, right now it doesn't even have a name, so it's going to be LBL, total employees. And we'll put here total employees. See if we have room for that. We do. So that'll be our total employees. This will be TXT total employees. All right. This will be LBL total payroll. And we will call this total payroll. All right, this will be TXT total payroll. And this will be average gross. Can we have room for average gross pay? We do. So let's make it average gross pay. And this will be TXT average gross pay. All right, now let's think about, first of all, what do we want to have happen here? When we click clear, we're not changing anything. We don't want to clear these. All right, those are going to be accumulating things for us as we go on. All right, this all looks good, but when we calculate, we're going to have to make some changes. All right, exit should be fine too. But let's go into our calculate routine. Now, right now, we're doing everything inside of here. I don't know if that's a great thing to do or not, but for now, at least, we'll leave it all in here. All right? We're not doing a lot of modularization in this example. So we checked that, we checked that, we checked that. We did all that stuff. So now we can come in here and do the rest of this. So there's our gross. And here I'm going to add to our new, we'll say new, final totals. All right, so what did we call these? Total gross? Well, I want to look up here and see what we called it. We didn't put those in here. Let's put them in now. Static. Whoa. I'm in the wrong program here. Something is goofed up here. I don't need the word static in these. All right. So decimal, total gross equals 0.0 M. Int total employees equals 0. And decimal AVG gross equals 0.0 M. I might not have used the same names I used before. Who cares? All right, so we've got total employees, total gross, and AVG gross. All right, so plus total employees. All right, total gross plus equal gross, and AVG gross equals total gross divided by total employees. Same stuff I did before. Now, the only other thing we have to do is we have to fill out these fields. In other words, we got to fill in those 3 boxes. So, txt total employees dot text equals total employees dot toString, and there's no formatting to do. That's a whole number. txt total payroll dot text equals total gross dot toString currency. That's good. And finally, txt avg gross pay dot text is equal to, that should be avg, not abg. All right, that is, whoopsie, that is equal to average gross. All right, let's give it a try. See what it looks like. Okay, file, save all, and let's run it. Again, no errors in here. Always a good thing. And we've got to change and make sure we're running the other program now. So we right mouse click on our payroll GUI, and I'm going to come in here and tell it to set as startup project. All right, so here it comes. All right, you already know if I put nothing in here. Okay, we can check all that stuff if you want. Now, too, if we put in number of hours, did we make those checks? I don't know. How about if we put in 999? You must enter an hourly rate. So we didn't put in those checks. All right. So where we came in here, I still have these ifs. I can change these to a while now if I want to. All right, we can do that in the calculate. So we can come in here and say while. In fact, let's do a do while like we did before. Okay, so if we've got nothing in there for a first name, it should act just like it did before, but it should keep you in there. Let's do it again. All right, so we've got those two done now. All right. Now it's giving me this. It says unreachable code. Well, that shouldn't be right. We don't want that return in there anymore. There we go. All right, so now let's do it here. Have another do. All right. And this again will be not an if, but a while. So while. All right. So let's come in here and we're going to kind of combine these. Okay, in just a second. So let me see how we have to do this first. Show message. Let's kind of do what we did before. And we'll come in here and we'll say bool result. We won't give it a value. And we'll say string hours, HRS, and string HR for hourly rate. So that'll be hours and hourly rate. We're not using them yet. We're going to right now. All right. So there's hours worked. Okay, you must enter. So if there's nothing in there, now we want to say hours worked empty or out of range. All right. So set the focus. We're not going to return anymore. All right. But what we are going to do, so let's see if that's all the case. We now want to say hours equal txt hourly rate. No, not hourly rate. Hours worked dot text. All right. And now we're going to say result equal decimal dot try parse HR out hours. Exactly. So I'm moving all these focuses right back up to the top. I'm going to do that first. That's all. It's not hurting anything where it is, but there it is. Okay, so do this while this, or again, hours is less than min hours, or we can put this over multiple lines so it's a little easier to read, or hours is greater than max hours. Else cannot start a statement. That's okay. We don't need this anymore. So, okay. Well, we're almost done. But I'm going to go and grab this because it's very similar to what we want to do down here. Except this is now hourly rate. No, that's right. This should be hours. There and there. Okay. This is hourly rate. Did I just call that rate? And that was called hours. Yep. All right. So that should be everything. Let's double check. File, save all. All right, first let's make sure if we leave out any of these fields here, these four, that we get the error message and we go on. All right, no first name input, you must enter a first name. All right, and notice now, unfortunately, it's got me in an infinite loop. All right, so we're gonna have to get out of that. All right, so let's see. So this isn't gonna work. So we're going to go back and revert this back to the way it was. I'm going to say if that's the case, we're going to do that and we're going to return and get rid of this. And we'll do the same thing for the last name. That'll fix those two. Okay, whoops. All right, so those two are done now. Now this isn't going to work either. Because it's going to go back and keep checking it and checking it and checking it. So we're going to come in here, we're going to take this, move that up to the top and make that an if. So if any of these things are true, all right, and give you a message. We're going to but we haven't tried yet to change this. So let's see. We do want to do this outside of the loop. And this outside of the loop. That's the case. We want to tell them to do it again. So we just want to tell them to return here. right. Again, we'll pull these two things out. Not those two, these two. And we'll put those up here. Hit enter. We'll make this an if. And we're going to put that here. All right. And again, we will return here. All right. I think now it should work. So let's try it. File, save all. Again, we'll check first with nothing in any of these fields. You must enter a first name, and we're back there. You must enter a last name, and we're back there. All right, hours worked, empty or out of range. So let's try it again. We'll put in hello. Whoa, that shouldn't have worked. Okay, that's an error. So let's fix that error. We forgot to put in here if not result that can be our new check in here. All right, that means if this returned false, so we have to do a similar thing here. All right, let's try it again. All right, need a first name, need a last name, hours worked empty or out of range. Let's put in something out of range. Empty or out of range. Well, you have to clear that, and we didn't. So let's make that, okay. Again, that's good. So if we do put in something that's valid, hourly rate, good. So let's put in something negative. Okay, let's put in something too big. Good. All I have to do is clear this field and clear that field. We'll do that in a minute. All right, 25. That's good. Let's clear. Mark Brown. All right. Their gross pay, we didn't give them overtime. So we have to do that as well. Okay? So let's fix all those and then we'll be done with this part of it. Now, when we set the focus here, we want to clear it out too. So txt hours.text equals nothing. Txt hourly rate dot text equals nothing. That'll fix those two. All right, now we're just always doing the same thing here. We have to do the same stuff we did before. Just to show you too, we can actually reuse that code from before. So if I go back to my console and I come in here and I find that gross pay stuff that we did earlier, which was here. I'm going to just copy all that and then close this. Okay, and replace that with this. Now, did I put in those? No, I did not. So we need to put in here const decimal max non-OT, and that was equal to 40.0 M. All right, that's the most hours you can work without getting overtime. And const decimal OT rate, and that was equal to 1.5 M. That's the time and a half you get for working overtime. My errors are all gone now. All right, so let's do it again. File, save all. We'll put in 3 people. All right. We didn't set, it looks like, I don't know if we set our tab order. So let's do that now, which is view tab order. So that'll be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Another view tab order. Did we set our accept and cancel buttons? Our accept button is calculate. Our cancel button is clear. So those are good. All right, there's our cursor. So we're going to do 3 people. We're going to do Millie Green. She worked 50 hours and makes $10 an hour. Her gross should be $550. All right, but it didn't put it in here. Let's fix that. I don't want to keep going on until I've got something in here that's correct. I think I just left that line out where I put in the gross pay. That's all. So here was the stuff we did before. So I have to just say here, txt gross pay equals gross dot to string C. Just like that. Whoops. Dot text. All right, that should fix everything. File, save all. All right, again, John Black, 50 hours, $10 an hour, made $550, 1 employee, $550, good, clear. Carrie White, she worked 60 hours and makes $25 an hour. So she should make $1,000 for her straight time, and then 20 times 25 times time and a half. So she made $1,750 plus our $550, and 2 employees and 2,300 divided by 2 is $1,150. Looks good. Finally, Glenda. Gray. She worked 59 hours and she makes $59 an hour. She made $4,041. Okay, everything as far as I can tell is looking good. So that's it for going over this stuff. So I'm going to come back in just a couple minutes and actually do. All right, so I'm going to come back in a couple minutes and go over Chapter 5.